Overtime last night. Well, look, here's the thing, all right? You can't always expect to get down like that and then think you're going to get the same result every time. At some point, you have to take control from the beginning. And Indiana was down initially, then they came back, then they were down, then they came back, and then they were up, and then they blew it, and they let the game go to overtime. Now, look, that was a hell of a shot by Brown in the corner. Do not get me twisted for a second here, all right? That's not what we're talking about. I'm not taking anything away from that play. What I am saying is Indiana had plenty of chances to put this game away. They really did. Now, Boston, a little bit better from the tray line than they have been in these playoffs so far last night. But for me, if I'm Indiana, I'm going back to the full court press. I know that it really didn't serve them well against the New York Knicks, okay? I mean, it worked a couple of times. Don't get me wrong. And when I say times, I mean games. But, eventually New York figured it out, right? I think for me, that would have been my go-to right away if I'm Indiana. I'm pressing them right out the gate. I'm not waiting till I'm down. I'm not waiting till I'm down in the series. I'm not going to let any of this other stuff happen because I don't want Boston to get off, right? Because once they're on, that's it. And, I talked about before the series that, at some point we got to stop giving Tatum and Brown a pass. I'll admit that they stepped up, but here's the thing that I really didn't like about this matchup for either team, okay? And that is, to me, neither one of them really had an impressive win in their last series. The Knicks were without Randall. Eventually, they were without Brunson. The Celtics beat a depleted Cavs team, right? No Donovan Mitchell, no Jarrell. All right, so the reality is, going into this, I'm sitting there thinking to myself, can either one of these teams compete with anybody that's in the West right now? And what I'm looking for is some actual dominance. I understand it's one game, but out of the gate, neither one is showing me that. Now, I will say that I felt that Indiana was a better look than the New York Knicks. Because if the Knicks aren't going to have Brunson and they're not going to have Randall, there's no way that they would have been able to take the Eastern Conference Finals, right? It would have been probably a sweep in the series. But even with Brunson, I still liked Indiana having a better chance against Boston than the Knicks would. And that's because the Knicks are such a defensive basketball team that I don't know if offensively, game in and game out, they can hang. Indiana can. And we saw that last night, right? If Indiana has to put up 60-plus and a half, they can do it. All that happened was at the end of the day, and I mean overtime, they a lot of turnovers, but at the end of the day, they were just outscored. Well, okay, Captain Obvious. Anybody who's ever played basketball knows exactly what I'm talking about. If that game keeps going into overtime and overtime and overtime, you know what I mean? It's one of those games that could literally practically go on forever if you really let it. Given another overtime, regardless of how that went, what I'm saying is another 5 minutes, Indiana probably would have been able to flip it and bring it back. You see what I'm saying? Versus the Knicks, they would have ran out of steam. I mean, that's all there is to it. And they would have had to rely exclusively on Brunson to get the job done. Indiana's got multiple scores, regardless of what anybody thinks. Defensively, they're going to have to step up. I think if they go to the full court press, maybe start running some traps, some zones, get back to that kind of collegiate style of defense, I think that would serve them well going forward. I really do. Look, to me, and I know people are going to say, well, their record, but man, this is the playoffs. Record during the regular season, honestly, is pretty much out the window. They are a better matchup for the Boston Celtics. And let's keep it a buck here. Boston has never finished anything with Brown and Tatum. Okay, they lost in 6 in the NBA Finals a couple of years ago. They're in the Eastern Conference Finals damn near every single year, but they can't get it done. They were down 3-0 to Miami last year. Well, they came back and tied the series. That's great. Game 7, nothing. Yeah, this is kind of becoming a rinse and repeat thing. right? To me, if I want to believe that the Boston Celtics have any chance in the NBA Finals, they're going to have to blow out Indiana because I think Indiana is the better matchup for them. If they were doing this against the New York Knicks, if they were to blow them out, I would have thought to myself, it's what they're supposed to do. The Knicks are depleted. They're not at full strength. Let's not forget that the Pacers didn't make the move for Pascal until later on in the season. I really just think that if I'm Boston, I am pedal to the metal. I don't care. I want to run. I want to run and gun, and I want to make sure that Indiana can never get in half-court sets. I don't want them to be able to pressure me on defense. I don't want them to go into any zone plays. I don't want them to think about, half-court traps. I don't want them trying to do any of that stuff to throw me off so it's going to take me 8 seconds just to get the ball across midcourt. I don't want to do any of that stuff. I want to run and gun. I want to wear them out. And that's all there is to it. And I'm not relying on the three for this entire series. I'm really not. I am trying to post up, down low. I am playing down low, hard-nosed basketball, gravel-type basketball with a pace that they will never be able to keep up with. I want to play a two-man game. Halliburton, I want him all over the place with screens and pick and rolls and flow plays. And I want Pascal Siakam putting all the pressure down low. That's what I would do. Because I want Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum to just use their athleticism and their speed to just run all over the place. Because when I say put the pressure on Pascal Siakam down low, what I'm telling you is defensively he's good, but eventually he's going to wear down getting all that pressure. And I don't want Indiana to get into their half-court sets because that's what allowed Indiana to come back into that game was slowing the pace down. I don't want that. I want to keep high-tempo basketball. Because I'm going to tell you something right now. This series is far from over. I know a lot of people are going to go, well, it's already game one. They got it at home, yada, yada, yada. If it goes to 7, we know where it goes. Who the hell says it'll go to 7? Indiana's good enough to get it done on the road. And they blew out New York in that last game. Granted, Brunson was out with that fracture for the most part, but I'm going to tell you like this. Defensively, they step up from 1 or 2 quarters against Boston. That's literally all it's going to take in every game. Now, easier said than done. But they put enough pressure on Boston and let's say the first quarter and they get up by 12 or 13. I'm not saying they can coast, but what I am saying is Tatum and Brown, what we saw last night ain't going to happen every night. Hell of a performance, way to come back after being up. Great job in overtime. Not something I would want to see every game, though, if I'm a Boston fan.
Bonner gets denied by Boston. Wheeler finds Clark from the logo.
Okay, now I want everybody to get some perspective here. Going into that game, the Fever were 0-3, my man. And there is a stadium full of people at a WNBA game that loud. Okay, I want you to hear this again, Broham.
Bonner gets denied by Boston. Wheeler finds Clark from the logo.
One more time for all the doubters.
Gets denied by Boston.
I don't understand people sometimes. I really don't, man. I don't get it. I never have, and I never will. Look, the WNBA is improving. Clark and Reese and Juju and everybody else is bringing attention like never before. That team is 0-3. Last year, WNBA and 0-3 basketball team, they're not selling out an arena. Remember the dude that he bought the tickets to go sit front row, and he was sleeping to prove a point? Like, there's nothing entertaining going on here. There's plenty of open seats, so many seats that I can buy all of them and lay out and take a nap, bro. You wouldn't be able to do that right now. They have completely changed the game. They've altered everything. When in a history of everdom have you seen it like that? Go ahead, I'll wait. I'm not going to sit around and pretend that I've always watched the WNBA, but I'm also going to say that obviously I've kept up with some things, especially with championships. I've never seen it like that before. That place is lit, Broham. And I think everybody just needs to accept what is happening and what is coming. WNBA is expanding. They got an expansion team now. They're getting charter flights. The money is going to be there. As long as that crowd sticks around like that, the money's going to be there. Their money's going to increase that they're making. Trickle-down economics, my man. And this is why I say that athletes should get paid the way that they do. Because Reese, Juju, Caitlin, etc., they bring so much attention to the game. They literally fund basically entire communities. There's somebody there to punch the ticket. There's somebody there to park the car. There's somebody there to clean the stadium. Somebody had to build that damn thing. Bars are open. People are there to watch them play. So owners from local bars are making money. Servers are making money at these bars. They can pay better wages to the cooking crew in the back, the bartenders. It's trickle-down economics. This is what happens. For all these people who say these athletes are spoiled, entitled, this is why right here. This is the embodiment. This is the living example right here. You see, you've gotten so spoiled on the NFL crowd and the NBA crowd and how it's just there, the college men's crowd. You've gotten so spoiled on how it's always just there that you don't remember what it was. That's the problem. Right? Now, this is where it all comes into play, is right here. This is where you see it firsthand. I'm glad it's happening. I really am. Moving on. Who saw this is getting this is really getting out of control, my man. Anybody watch wrestling back in the day? It's getting completely out of control, man. All right. Here we go.
Whenever you compare him to Jordan, you have to frame it with the age. Jordan didn't win a playoff series until he was age 25. We're not talking about 1991 Michael Jordan. Mm-hmm. Ant Edwards is like 1988 Michael Jordan, when Larry Bird and Magic Johnson and the Pistons were still dominating the league. That's why we're excited about him. We're not just excited about him because of now. We're excited about where he can be in 2 or 3 years. He's on that process and on that timeline, and he's doing it very quickly at age 22. It's all of those things. Whenever you compare...
So sick of every damn time somebody new comes into the league or somebody starts dominating in the league, the first damn thing they do is ruin their career by saying, is he the next Michael Jordan? Because they did it to Kobe. They did it to LeBron. Okay? Hell, they've even tried to do it with Zion Williamson. All right. And now here we are with these damn comparisons to Anthony Edwards and Michael Jordan. And I'm just, you see all the TikTok videos, you see the conspiracy theory. Oh, he's one of MJ's illegitimate children, blah, blah, blah. It really does more to tarnish somebody's career than it does to help him ever. And people are going to say, well, he's also getting compared to Kobe. Bro, who was Kobe like? Kobe was the living embodiment of, I want to be like Mike. Remember them damn commercials? I want to be, yeah, that was literally it. Hell, the movie, Like Mike. Come on, man. Kobe Bryant was the living embodiment of that. Living embodiment. So if we're going to say he's like Kobe, all the things that he's saying about, playing all the games and not resting and all that stuff, if we're going to say he's like Kobe, then we're essentially saying he's like Mike. Whether we talk about it and say it's Mike directly or Kobe, it's the same damn thing. It really is. All right, so let's just get that out of the way. I'm not going to sit here and just pontificate. Now, what's the bottom line? We need to stop. We have to stop. Look, I'm a 40-year-old man. I grew up watching Michael Jordan. Every one of us in school, we weren't necessarily Bulls fans when I look back on it. We were Michael Jordan fans, especially me, because I really like the Knicks. But we were Michael Jordan fans. That's what it amounted to. And I think that as we've got older and we've tried to find somebody that can give us that same emotion that we had when we were younger, sports is a lot like drugs, man. It really is. You're always looking for that first thrill, that first high that you had when you first started watching it. What made you start watching sports? For me, it was John Elway. For my pop, it was John Elway. And when John Elway quit playing, my old man really didn't watch a whole lot anymore. And I realized he wasn't necessarily a Broncos fan. He was a John Elway fan. And that happens to a lot of people. So what happened? Well, that thrill went away. He couldn't find anybody else that when he watched sports made him feel the way that John Elway did when he watched him play. Just wasn't the same. That happens to a lot of people. It's weird to say, but it is a lot like that. We are emotionally tied to our favorite players, our teams. It's the way that it is, fellas. You want to admit to it or not, I don't give a damn. We know what it is. I don't mean to bust everybody out, but whatever. And so Michael Jordan gave us that thrill. Who was next? Was it Kobe? Was it LeBron? And what these people who have been watching and involved in sports their whole lives that are even older than me, whether they like Mike or not, what they are doing is tarnishing all of these careers by questioning as to whether or not they can have and be the next MJ. And the thing about being an MJ is it's also about the popularity, the ability to be the face of the league. There's a million and one things there. It's more than just the rings, man. It really is. Can he literally have global popularity? The way that a John Elway did. The way that a Michael Jordan did. A Conor McGregor. It's not easy. You think having that kind of popularity is easy? You think it's easy to carry that type of burden around with you, man? No. And you got to hand it to Anthony Edwards because he's handled all of this very classy. But it needs to stop because what's going to happen is Anthony Edwards could win 5 championships and someone's going to go, well, it's not MJ. MJ would have won 10 in today's era. Why is that person going to say that? because some jerk on national media said, you know who this guy reminds me of? Jordan, the GOAT. That's who. He reminds me of Jordan in 1988. And I think in a couple of years, he'll be 1991 Jordan. And then he'll be like 90 to 94 Jordan. And then he'll be 96 to 99 Jordan. 95, 99. What was it? 95, what was it? 90, 91, 91, 92, 92, 93. Okay. And then 95, 96, 96, 97, 97, 98. Hey, whatever. Blah, blah, blah. The point of what I'm saying is it's stupid. It's ridiculous. I'm tired of it. I'm over it. Stop doing this to people. Okay? Nobody's ever going to be Jordan, bro. As much as Kobe was like Mike, he was still not MJ. He still was himself in a lot of other ways, man. Okay? We got to cut the already. I'm tired of it. Michael Jordan was not the only player that existed back then. Sean Kemp, Gary Payton, Patrick Ewing, John Starks, Charles Barkley, Dominique Wilkins. Just stop it. Dikembe Mutombo, Akeem Olajuwon. Just quit it, man. You know, Reggie Miller, Karl Malone, John Stockton. Everybody just chill, okay? Because what's going to happen is now all we're going to see is Anthony Edwards highlights. And if Minnesota doesn't win this series, then it's going to be, well, why is everybody comparing them to MJ? And then Brian Weinhorst is going to be able to see, this is what I'm talking about here. This is what I'm saying. It's like 88 Jordan, right? Because, you know, didn't win a championship. But he will in a few years. I don't want to hear this crap. I really don't. Tired of it. I'm over it. Everybody, we're moving on to the next thing, which is when we come back, we are going to talk about the series. Game 1 tonight, Timberwolves, Mavs. Look, I said right around midseason that this was a basketball team that started looking a little bit different. Now, at the beginning of the year, I was just like, look, a Luka-led basketball team will not win a championship. It can't happen. But there was a transition that I talked about before anybody else did. Kyrie started playing defense. Luka started looking amazing. These guys started feeling comfortable together. And I said long before anybody else that this locker room was, to me, a locker room that accepted Kyrie for who he is. And even then, even if they don't, they just, whatever, man, you do you. Can we just play basketball? And once they realize that there's nothing that's going to stop Kyrie from saying that he's going to say, and just start letting him play ball, that was when the change really happened. So a big part of it really does have to do with Kyrie Irving, who I don't know could ever get enough credit for the Mavs being in the position that they are right now. Rudy Gobert, Karl Anthony Towns, Anthony Edwards. Look, what it's going to amount to is this series is only going to go one of two ways. This is either going to be a very defensive series, and we're going to see a lot of low-scoring basketball, or we are going to see high-octane offense, period. And to me, it's going to be more about whether or not Minnesota can keep up, because I think Dallas is capable of, any time they want to, of dropping 130 a night. It's the way that it is. Now, whether or not Minnesota can keep up pace, to me, that's going to be the thing about going into this series. Look, for everything that Ann is out here doing, what they're doing together as a team, you know, to hell with the other 9 years, right? If anybody saw that interview. Whatever the case may be, what we are witnessing is both teams right now who are truly playing the team game of basketball. to me, that's what's going to make this different, or this series so different than what we're watching in the Eastern Conference Finals. Two teams who are truly playing team basketball. And I think that we're about to find out under pressure who is truly the better team. Not with the best player, not with MVPs, not with, that whole argument, not any of that stuff. Who's got the better leaders? Is it Luka? Is it Cat? Is it, Edwards? Is it Irving? It's not going to boil down to any of that stuff. It's all going to boil down to team. This is not going to be about individual efforts. This isn't going to be about whether or not Luka's going to drop 40 and Kyrie's going to come in and drop 30. It's literally going to take for both teams to continue to play team basketball. The extra pass, we see it with both teams. Especially with Dallas. I mean, the way that everybody seems to see the floor on that basketball team is insane. Whereas with Minnesota, I think they would rather go half court. I really do. Look, I think Dallas is going to want to run up and down the court, create plays that way, transition basketball, force a lot of turnovers, create bad shots on defense, force Minnesota to get nervous, move too quickly, take bad shots. That's going to be the game that Dallas wants to play. At least if I'm the Mavericks, that's what I want to do. Whereas if I'm Minnesota, I want to slow this thing down. I want to keep it to half-court basketball. I want Dallas to get frustrated because the pace isn't there. They're not moving the way that they want to. The game is too slow. I'm not worried about taking a shot with 3 seconds left on the shot clock. I'm not in any hurry to do anything. I want to play motion offense on the half court. That's what I want to do. I want to create plays. I want to make sets happen. And defensively, I just want to keep everybody on the perimeter. Don't let anybody to drive on the inside regardless of anything. I'm playing 3-2 zone defense. That's right. I said 3-2, not 2-3. I'm playing 3-2 zone defense. I'm forcing everybody to move 2 to one side, 2 to another. 1 high, 1 low, 3-2. And I am doing it until it does not work any longer. I mean, that's the bottom line really for this series. And look, I'm not making a whole lot of changes that are unnecessary. In game, I'm doing what I got to do. But certainly to start out, that's where I'm at. Moving on. The NCAA, man, I tell you what. It looks like the NCAA is going to have to start paying out massive revenue shares. It's kind of bizarre, though, that the Pac-12 gets the vote as is right now. Of course, and again, I guess through basketball and baseball season, they finish out as the Pac-12, right? Even though there's only 2 teams there and you have to have 8. Otherwise, you dissolve. They have, 2 years to make a vote? But regardless, I guess they're doing what they feel is beneficial for the athletes, and that is to get revenue shares, which would be, I think somewhere in the neighborhood of, they said $20 million in new revenue shares. And then, of course, they're talking about revenue shares now from the NCAA tournament, which they should be getting. I don't know why people don't think that they shouldn't be, but they absolutely should. The NFL does it. The NBA does it. Well, they're professionals, bro. We need to stop pretending that college isn't presented as a professional sport, because it 110% has been for years, and they've been treated like professionals. We know this because they are doing interviews when they should be in class. See what I'm saying? You don't interview somebody who's not a professional when they have other obligations, like, I don't know, going to school. I mean, seriously. Sure, for big games, a Orange Bowl or a college football playoff game or whatever the case may be, sure. But for week 4 against Toilet Flush University, you think Alabama players need to be interviewed leading up to that game? Come on, man. Stop it. They're being paid now. They're being paid as professionals. Well, I want the college game to stay the college game. Look, you have to understand that there's really nowhere else for them to go. Sure, you've got the UFL thing right now, okay, which is the XFL and the USFL merging together. But let's be honest, it's not big time enough. It's not big time enough. And universities have always done whatever it is going to take to win a game. There will always be a booster out there with a blank check, period, which, by the way, Florida's getting sued. Anybody see that? What was it, $13.5 million? Jaden Rashada, he's suing Florida and Coach Billy Napier for, and the one of the boosters there, Hugh Hathcock, claiming that they defrauded him, backing out of a promised $13.85 million agreement. Said he had turned down other programs. See, though, before they couldn't have done something like that. They couldn't have accepted this offer on the low, not gotten the money, and then what were they going to do? Hell, even if they got screwed over lawfully by the NCAA, you can't take them to court. Because if you do, you're there by yourself. In arbitration, you don't deserve a lawyer, so you don't get to do that. So you have to build a case all by yourself. You're 18, 19 years old, speaking in front of adults who are experiencing these matters, who have all the paperwork on planet Earth. Go ask Maurice Clarett, my man. Go ask him. Hey, bro, how did it go down with Tress? How did it go down with Ohio State? The way that they made him look. Come on, man. Let's get serious here. We need to stop pretending that they don't deserve representation. They can't ever sue. If they get hurt, they can't sue. Well, you knew the risk when you took it. It's their livelihood, bro. Scholarships get taken away when they cannot play. And they have no way to get representation, and now they do. So whether you agree with this lawsuit or not, that's not what I'm talking about here. We're not talking about whether or not this case is real, because we don't have enough. All we know is that we have somebody saying, hey, look, man, I was promised damn near $14 million. They never delivered. I turned down other really good opportunities, and they played me. Now he gets to go and sue for being played. You understand? You can't take advantage of me anymore. If he's lying, to hell with it. But if he's not, and this is the point, regardless of whether or not this is factual, he at least gets the opportunity to defend himself, which is something that they could not do before. You're never going to change my position on this. I really want you to be well aware of that. Quick recap of the show. Stop comparing Anthony Edwards to Michael Jordan. Stop ruining careers by doing this all the time with every person that comes into the league. We need to quit. We'll do better than this. Seriously, do better than this. Good grief. Hell of a game last night. Look, Indiana should have won that game. They're going to walk away knowing that they should have won that game. It is what it is. Moving on to game 2. I think they take one, and I still think that they take the series. That's all I'm saying. And Boston just not showing enough dominance for me. Just not taking over. Man, the regular season record, bro, that doesn't matter right now. They're struggling with a team that's what in the regular season? Come on. Mavs, Timberwolves. I like Dallas in the series. I like Minnesota tonight, though. Again, if I'm Dallas, I want to be all up and down the floor. I don't want to hesitate. I don't want to goof around. Simultaneously, if I'm Minnesota, I want to slow this thing all the way down. Do not want to try and run with Dallas, period. Caitlin Clark, an 0-3 WNBA team, has a full crowd, lit as hell. Her, Reese, Juju, a host of others. I'm not taking away from anybody else that's been in the league for a few years or before. Cheryl Swoops, all of them, Lisa Leslie, Rebecca Lobo. I'm not taking away. What I am saying is the new breed has brought different attention. WNBA really needs to be thankful every single day that Reese decided to hit it right back. You can't see me. They need to be thankful every day for that. All right, everybody. I'm Drew Duncan. The show's fired up. We are live. Block 50 Radio, block50radio.com, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram is Drew Duncan Radio. Your local programming is next. Don't you dare touch that dial.